Within just the last few hours, a number of international sanctions have been lifted against Iran. This came almost immediately after the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, confirmed that Iran was indeed dismantling its nuclear program, meeting the requirements of the nuclear agreement with the United States. Also, Iran has released 4 Americans in a prisoner swap with the United States and freed a 5th American held there for roughly a month. In return, the U.S. will commute the sentences of 7 Iranians. Florida Democratic Senator Bill Nelson voted to back the Iran deal. He joins me now from Washington. Thank you for being with me, sir.
Thanks, Poppy.
You were a supporter of this. Not all Democrats were. We have one of your fellow Democrats on a little bit later this hour to talk about it. How optimistic are you, though, that Iran stays in compliance? Because we did hear that warning from Secretary Kerry tonight in Vienna.
It's clearly in Iran's interest to stay in compliance, and I think they will. Just by virtue of what has happened, they've put concrete in the plutonium reactor. They've shipped 24,000 pounds of enriched uranium out of the country. They can't do a bomb in 3 months like they used to could. Now, the minimum time would be 12 months, and we would easily catch that. So it's clearly in Iran's interest to stay in compliance.
What do you say to those who argue, and we're hearing this from a number of Republicans tonight, that you still have 2 Americans being held over there, Bob Levinson and also U.S. businessman Siamak Namazi? You also have, they would argue, just made Iran wait 8 to 10 more months than they would have had to for their breakout time to get a nuclear weapon. They argue that's not enough, Senator. What do you say?
I'm happy for the 5 that will be released. I am distressed that we did not get any information about Bob Levinson, which I have been involved in from the get-go. I know this is devastating to the Levinson family, a wife and 7 children. The last proof of life was a couple of years ago in a photograph. But notice that an administration official said today that the Iranians have promised to continue to help try to find any evidence of where Bob is. They claim they don't know where he is. Well, of course, I have great suspicions about that, but that is on the table. It's been on the table from day one. We'll see what happens.
You agree with making this deal, even though the United States does not believe, you don't believe that Iran is being honest about Bob Levinson?
Well, the nuclear deal is a separate thing.
I mean the prisoner swap today.
Oh, for 5 for 7? Yes. And if you're part of the families of the 5, you certainly agree with it. I just want to see us find out what happened to Bob 8 years ago on the Iranian island of Kish.
When you talk about lifting these sanctions, what it will mean is that Iran is going to be able to sell its oil on the global market. That's going to bring in money. Also, billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets is now being unfrozen. Whether that's $150 billion, as a lot of the Republicans are saying, whether that's closer to $50 billion, it's still billions. Are you concerned about what that's going to do in terms of bolstering Iran's economy, in terms of being a sponsor of terrorism?
Of course I'm concerned, but it's $56 billion. It's Iranians' money that was frozen in foreign banks, not U.S. banks. And they're going to make money on oil, sure. But thank goodness oil is below $30 right now. So you have to look separately as whether or not this was a good deal for the United States and our allies, and especially Israel, with regard to them not being able to make a nuclear weapon in 3 months.
I want to get your reaction to something that Senator Marco Rubio said today. Let's play that.
Shouldn't be involved in swaps. They should never have happened, is my point. I'm glad if these reports are true, of course we're happy for them and their families, but they should have never been there. And the fact of the matter is that this tells us all we need to know about the Iranian regime, that they take people hostage in order to gain concessions.
So the key part of that is when he said, you know, while we celebrate their return, the deal serves as a piece of propaganda. That was Ted Cruz. But Marco Rubio said they, as in Iran, take people hostage in order to take concessions. Do you believe that?
I would have suspicions about the fifth person, which was a student that was just scooped up a while ago. But with regard to the others, I don't believe that the case. And if you said that the United States should not be involved in swaps, my goodness, that's been going on since the beginning of humankind.
What do you think this means, Senator, for diplomatic relations, big picture, between Iran and the United States? You've got parliamentary elections coming up next month in Iran. You've got the fact that the President Rouhani and also Zarif, the foreign minister, more quote-unquote moderates compared to the hardliners in the Ayatollah or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. It seems like the moderates won out here, able to convince the Ayatollah to do this.
I believe so. I think this is a victory for the moderates in Iran. And I think the fact that now the deal is working, it's being implemented, I think is going to give extra political strength to Rouhani and Zarif. And as a result, I think they are going to have a chance of trying to tamp down the right-wing crazies that all they want is confrontation. A diplomatic, peaceful dialogue between the two of us that can start to turn Iran into the family of nations, howbeit ever so slowly and so painfully slowly. If we can have them do that turn over the years, that's clearly in our interest and our allies' interest.
Senator Bill Nelson, I do appreciate your time this evening, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Poppy.